فنشكره على المصائب فما نشكره على النعم، ونصلي على رسوله الأكرم ذي الشرف الشم ونور الأتم والكتاب المحكم وكمال النبيين والخاتم سيد ولد آدم الذي بشر به عيسى ابن مريم ودعا لبعثته إبراهيم عليه السلام حين كان يرفع قواعد بيت الله المحرم. فصلى الله عليه وسلم على أتباعه خير الأمم الذي بارك الله بهم كافة الناس العرب منهم الأجم. الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا. الحمد لله الذي نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا، من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. رب زدني علما. My respected elders and my dear brothers and sisters, I welcome all of you with the Islamic greetings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Ishal Sheikh, member of the ISIP Indian chapter and a student from the Department of Psychology from Aspire College of Excellence, will be your host today. On behalf of the ISIP team, I extend a very warm welcome to each and everyone who have joined us today. Now let us begin our program with the name of Allah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Our agenda today is that we will begin our session with the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha. Then we will move on to the meeting's guidelines, followed by the lecture by our esteemed speaker, Brother Nizamudheen Hadhrami. Then we will move on to the question and answer session. And lastly, we will conclude with the closing dua, inshallah. Now let us begin with the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful, sovereign of the day of recompense. It is you we worship and you we ask for help. Guide us to the straight path, the path of those upon whom you have bestowed favor, not of those who have evoked your anger, or of those who are astray. Ameen. This is our Zoom etiquette. Let's ensure we adhere to the meeting's etiquette for a more productive and respectful discussion. And we suggest all the participants not to record the sessions as we will be uploading it on the YouTube, inshallah. And please leave your questions in the chat box. Jazakallahu khairan for your understanding, dear brothers and sisters. This is our mission statement. ISIP is an inclusive space designed to connect people with diverse backgrounds interested in Islamic psychology. Our aim is to disseminate knowledge, share resources, and discuss best practices in a free and accessible manner. This is a platform to enable further development of people's personal and professional interests, studies, and understanding of Islamic psychology within the communities and countries of origin. Moving on, let me give you a brief introduction of our esteemed speaker, Brother Nizamudheen Hadhrami. Brother Nizamudheen Hadhrami holds an MPhil in clinical psychology, Masters in psychology, and honors in BA psychology from the University of Delhi. He is a licensed clinical psychologist recognized by the Rehabilitation Council of India, that is RCI. He is currently serving as a consultant clinical psychologist at Shanti Hospital in Omissary, Calicut. He plays a major role in providing therapeutic interventions, psychological assessments, and support to patients dealing with various mental health issues. Barakallahu feekum. Now, without further ado, I request our esteemed speaker to take over. Jazakallahu khairan for your patience.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Jazakallah khair, Mishal Sheikh, for the beautiful introduction, and Jazakallah to all for all the participants and also to the ISIP India. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Ali. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Dear brothers and sisters, so today, inshallah, we are going to discuss about the topic of mindfulness, which is a very important topic and very interesting topic. And it's a new researched topic in psychology, in health profession, and in all many streams, including spirituality. So inshallah, we are going to talk about mindfulness from an Islamic perspective, which is very broader. We call it Muraqabah, which is an umbrella term and a broader term which includes the modern mindfulness. We all know that Islamic psychology is a very broad term because it includes the modern concept of psyche and psychology. Many scholars talked about psyche, which is resembling to nafs. And nafs is not the only level we experience ourselves. We know that we have higher domains like our akal, our qalb, and our ruh. And these are the levels which ascend a human being towards the truth, the eternal truth. And the modern psychology, unfortunately, didn't go beyond the level of psyche. And we know that without introduction, I want to say that in modern age, it's very relevant to consider mindfulness because in modern age, we face a lot of problems, including the lack of quality in our lives. We feel so much indulged in noises, distractions, and we don't experience the quality of our being. Even our awareness about ourselves are spoiled. So it's very important and very relevant to understand mindfulness from a very broad perspective. I'm pretty sure that many of the participants are students of psychology, and many those who have explored the idea of mindfulness, you will be familiar about new understanding of mindfulness, and that is a level which is not complete without knowing the Islamic concept of Muraqabah and the umbrella term which includes the the finding of truth and the commitment to truth. We all know that as the aspirants of the enthusiasts of Islamic psychology, we all know that a student of knowledge or the student of psychology should have the commitment towards truth, and commitment towards truth will give us clarity, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide us to know more and more about the truth about our being, our nafs, and beyond that as well. So I want to share the PPT, and before that I want to tell you that the modern age, this is my premise before starting, the modern age has a lot of problems and presuppositions in the imparting of knowledge. So when we talk about Islamic ideas, we have to consider that in the beginning. Then only we can make forward our understanding of concepts like mindfulness or psychology or any such terms. So I will share the PPT and we will go with the idea of mindfulness, inshallah. So is it visible for you all?
Yes, brother, it is.
Okay. Thank you. So I begin with the idea of the modern condition, which is a lot more important to consider because it's affecting our heart and mind. We know that we distract with a lot of information overload when we use the mobile phones or social media or these things, and people are more tend to distract themselves with instant gratifications and the overwhelming of their own selves, and these things rush to their mind and it actually spoil their comfort, I mean the peace of mind. Also there is a problem when we think as Muslims we can't experience the spirituality from a point of view of stillness or silence. Many people are not not tolerating silence because they feel like when they are silent they feel like many of their unwanted thoughts, feelings and emotions come up, and it frighten them, so it's very important to have presence in our prayer. But think about each of us should think about ourselves, how much presence we are having in our prayer. Is it affecting negatively by the overindulgence in our you know uh, media or in our consumption of informations, or are we distracting ourselves with a lot of mm, pursuits of happiness or entertainments? So this is a very important thing to consider to understand the relevance of mindfulness. So many people they can't find a successful pursuit in their spirituality as well as their productive worldly life because they can't find a peace inside themselves. We know that today uh, mental health is very important, and it's considered that once mental health is correlated with the internal peace, the internal stillness or awareness. Earlier, the subconscious mind was considered the most powerful thing in a human being. And later on, it was changed and made the cognitive power, our rational power became more prominent. And this is very old idea that our awareness about ourselves, the awareness about our awareness is the most powerful thing. And this is what we call metacognition. So now we have to consider that metacognition or awareness about awareness is very important to know ourselves better. So in the modern times, it's very important to know the root of our problems, why we are our minds and hearts are affected. Why I denote heart because it's very important to consider uh, heart as a center of our spiritual life.
Brother,
Yeah.
the screen is not moving. It's
Oh, is it moving now?
now I can only see mindfulness.
Oh, let me
It's the
check it
first
out.
one. Yeah, the first one only.
What about now? Hello?
Yeah,
Is
now
it
I can see mindfulness. What is it?
okay? Okay. Only that, right?
Yes.
Not the other slides.
No, not other one. This is the third slide, I feel.
Okay, okay. I will change it. So now we are considering what is mindfulness. So as a definition, it's the quality of our state of being or the conscious awareness about ourselves. So today we know that we are more into quantifying things. We consider the quantity of things. So we tend to denote things in numbers. But the mindfulness is all about the qualify, the quality of things. So it's how much awareness we have about ourselves and how much we know about ourselves. It's also a mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment. You know, the present moment is an experience which where we can find a stillness of our being, and it's not harmed by our future or our past. So mostly people bring future or past through our thoughts. From our experience, our basic bodily experience, we are always experiencing it in our present moment. So usually in mindfulness exercises, people give, a raisin to taste in order to experience the mindful eating. I think many of you will be familiar about that. When we eat, we usually uh, incorporate all our senses, our taste, our vision, our touch, our smell, and we incorporate this and we become aware about the present. Right. Also, calmly acknowledge and accept one's feeling, thoughts, and bodily sensation. It's also an important aspect of mindfulness. It's an acceptance. We cannot judge our feeling or thought. It should not be there, or it should not be like that. We cannot judge it, or we cannot force to avoid our thoughts or feelings. It's very important to have an open and receptive awareness of what is happening both externally and internally in the present moment. So in the modern psychology, the most advanced application of mindfulness is in the MBCT techniques. So they use the mindfulness techniques to apply it in clinical cases. So to cultivate the awareness, acceptance, it can hugely change a person's mental well-being. I already talked about mindfulness earlier, that it's a metacognition. Metacognition means it's awareness of one's own awareness, what is really going on inside us, and it really gives a perspective. It's a point of view, and it's not perfect, but it gives a point of view, and it's a very good application, an evidence-based application in the psychology. Okay. So what is the difference between mindfulness and unmindfulness, if we have to say the opposite of mindfulness? I hope the presentation is visible. Is it visible? Hello?
Yes, brother.
Okay, thank you. So in a simple idea, mindfulness is the ability to choose our thoughts or our feelings or our actions, and we have a control over ourselves, we have a grip over ourselves, so that we do not react to situations. We actually have a control over ourselves, and we can follow it. It's not appropriate to use the word control, but it's more about a becoming a distance, or becoming in a position of distance from our thoughts or emotions or desires, because it's technically and as fundamentally, our thoughts and our emotions are not ourselves. It's part of ourselves, but we ourselves should be considered as a watching or a judge, or a person who is aware of all these sub faculties of ourselves. But in the case of unmindfulness, the opposite of mindfulness, it's all about being reactive. So you can say it's like a reflex response, to be becoming reactive to situations, to people. If someone talk to us in a way, we usually tend to react to that, and it's not an ideal way, and it's a state of unmindfulness, and it take away the freedom of uh, autonomy, or a autonomy over ourselves. So mindfulness is I have already said that it's an evidence-based method, and hundreds of studies, books in psychology, health profession, and according to APA also, numerous studies showed that mindfulness practices help to reduce stress. It helps to boost memory, enhance focus and concentration, and decrease emotional reactivity, and improve personal relationships. And it's a very good method to use in the psychotherapeutic interventions. So there are two aspects. It's a spiritual uh, aspect is there, because the traditionally mindfulness is taken from the old traditional religious concepts. So there are Hindu and Buddhist underpinning in the old mindful concepts, but in there is also Islamic mindful concepts. We will discuss it in the next slides. So I have already talked about the concept of unmindfulness versus mindfulness. I think you got the idea. Mindfulness means having a grip over ourselves, or an awareness about what's going on inside of ourselves, and we get an autonomy. But in unmindfulness, it's a reactive response to situations, and the person lost the awareness and autonomy in the domain of our being. And similarly, when we talk about Muraqabah, and this is our today's topic to discuss. Muraqabah, the word itself is coming from a root meaning to watch, observe, and take care. We know that in the beautiful names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Asmaul Husna, the word Raqib means uh, the watchful. So the word Raqib is very much related to the idea, and the quality of that is denoted in the word Muraqabah. So the Islamic concept of Muraqabah is a very broad term, and it's a constant knowledge of the servant and conviction in the supervision of the truth. It's also the awareness of our outward and inward states. And it's not only the awareness about our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, but it is a complete state of vigilance, self-awareness in one's relationship with Allah, in heart, mind, and body. So there are two things in a very plain and simple manner. It's awareness about our heart, our being, and also awareness about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is my connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And basics of Muraqabah is our knowledge that Allah is watching, and Allah is watching us at all the time. And as a consequence, we develop greater attention and care for our own actions, thoughts, feelings, and inner states of being. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said that Muraqabah is the realization of the supreme character traits. And the supreme character trait is al-ihsan. It's a spiritual excellence. It's like worshipping Allah as if he sees ourselves, and also if we sees Allah. For if even if we do not see him, he certainly sees us. So this is a spiritual excellence, and it's a complete awareness and mindfulness of Allah at all times. So here is a complete picture. So I have a reference, used the reference of Yakin Institute's mindfulness materials. So the logo of Yakin is also, you can see in the PPT. So here it's a very beautiful representation of what Muraqabah is. And Muraqabah is our integral part of our faith. It's the fulfillment of worshiping Allah according to a proper understanding of the names of Him. So I have already talked about the name of Raqib, but more than that, there are other names are also very close to the idea of Muraqabah. So Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah says that the names of Raqib, that is watchful, and Al-Hafil, the guardian, and Al-Alim, the knowing, Al-Sami, the hearing, the seeing, Al-Basir. These names are very much connected to Muraqabah. Whoever understands these names and is devoted to fulfilling them will acquire Muraqabah. So Muraqabah, we already said that it's very very much connected to our faith, our integral part of our worship. And it's also the idea that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching us, and we are doing our actions in the similar way that we are also watching Him. And we call that the spiritual excellence, the ihsan. And another idea, another aspect, one aspect is the ihsan, another aspect is to know our secret. Means, am I doing my worship and my daily interactions according to the genuine connection to Allah, or my intentions, is my intentions right? These are connected to the niyyah, the intention of ourselves. So Muraqabah includes being mindful of one's own intentions. We can say that it's observation of one's inner being, that is the secret of our inner being. So the complete state of vigilant self-awareness in one's relationship with Allah in heart, mind, and body. This is the overall idea of Muraqabah. So there are perspectives. We can understand Muraqabah from the point of view of ihsan, from the point of view of knowing our intentions, the niyyah, and also understanding that the secret of ourselves. So here it is both rewarding in this world and also the next world. Knowing Allah and always being a watchful servant. I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching over us, and we are also watching ourselves, like a shepherd. A shepherd is watching in the similar way we are watching ourselves. So it gives a greater attention and care for our actions, thoughts, and feeling, and our inner being. And this in turn contribute to our tranquility, our contentment about ourselves. And also in the akhirah, it gives a eternal calm. It's very rewarding. And there are many writings of scholars like Imam al-Ghazali and Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawzi, and you can explore more about the words, the works of these scholars. Another important aspect which is taken by the writings of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, he actually defined Muraqabah and to realize it in 4 aspects. to understand Muraqabah in 4 aspects. One is knowledge of Allah Almighty. Second is knowledge of the enemy of Allah, the external threat for ourselves. So it's very evident in the Quran that Shaitan is our enemy number 1, and awareness of the mischiefs or the potential threats of Iblis or Shaitan or Satan is very important in the aspect of Muraqabah. Thirdly, knowledge of the soul's capacity to suggest evil. And the fourth one is knowledge of deeds to be done for the sake of Allah. Here, we have to understand that Muraqabah includes all the 4 aspects. But in the modern psychology, the third one, which is the knowledge of the soul's capacity to suggest evil. You can see here, the number given is not right, but you can see the third aspect, the knowledge of the soul's capacity to suggest evil. This is the aspect which the modern psychology consider that our mind or our thoughts or our feeling has the capacity to spoil our mental well-being. So this is not a theological under proposition, but the modern psychology consider that this idea, the knowledge of the soul's capacity to suggest evil, is represented in a very non-religious or neutral practice. So it advocates the therapeutic psychology, you can say the clinical psychology, to focus on the third aspect without grounding it in a theological worldview, to give it a wider appeal to the diversity of their patients, populations, and to pluralistic society at large. So we can the society which is very secular and the plural society, we cannot give that the idea that soul's capacity to suggest evil cannot, it's not defined in the modern psychological realm. So they just secularized it and proposed that for Muslims, mindfulness of the inner life is simply one aspect with a greater framework. So that is the Islamic mindfulness. It involves a comprehensive awareness of the basics of Islamic creed, law, ethics, and one's own subtle psychological makeup. So we have to consider these 4 aspects together, and it's very important to understand this to further. When we go in the further slides, there is an exercise how to do an Islamic meditation. So this is very important to consider the Muraqabah as a broader framework, and it's based in the Islamic creed. Now, I think I am going in a pace which is very slow, and I'm not making it complicated, I think, because this knowing the mindfulness is a very, we have to understand it in a simple terms. And if when we understand Muraqabah, we have to understand it from a point of view to practice it in our lives. So that's why I'm making it very simple slides. And to understand, we have to understand basic terms. Then we will go for a mindful exercise, and inshallah you can practice it in your own personal for your personal benefits, inshallah. So here now we are talking about silence and presence. The virtue of silence is very, very important and connected to the idea of Muraqabah. We all say that silence is part of wisdom, the proverb, we all know that. And also, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam talked about many hadiths which is referring to the silence. The famous hadith, whoever believes in Allah and the last day, let him speak goodness or remain silent. Silence has a very important effect on our heart and character, because a habit of bad or very bad speech results in an impure heart. So when we control our tongue, it in turn changes our heart. The heart and tongue are very much extrinsically linked or connected. So to guard our speech is also to guard our hearts. So it's very important to consider uh, silence. So in the modern time, many people are not tolerating silence because they can't enjoy it, so they distract their free time with music or any podcast. So one of my friend, he whenever he drives, he always use the podcast. So he relate to me one experience that when he was driving in a very busy town, I think in Bangalore, I think so. When he was driving, his phone's charge is finished and he could not listen to any podcast. So that time he was realizing that he can't tolerate with silence. It's very very important to tolerate silence, because in that we get the secret, the idea of what thoughts, desire or emotions are passing through ourselves. So it's the awareness of the present moment. uh, the purpose of muraqabah, purpose of mindfulness is not only to just to tolerate silence, but to enjoy silence as an aspect of positive character development. It's very important to enjoy the aspect of silence. The Prophet ﷺ said to Abu Dhar uh, as an advice to observe long period of silence. So it's called samt in Arabic, and it's a very good spiritual quality to observe silence. And many Sahaba talked about the character of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that he used to observe silence for doing periods of more period of time, and also laugh very little. So we know that silence has a very good connection with our prayers, and it's very important to uh, connect to our prayer, our spiritual well-being in the uh, presence, being in the presence and also being in the silence. Also, silence is also very important to defeat shaitan, shaitanic whispering, which comes in the form of evil thoughts. Prophet ﷺ said that you must observe long period of silence, for it will drive away shaitan and help you in the matters of your religion. So this is a silence is a form of wisdom, yet few people practice it. This is an idea we connect silence to mindfulness. You know, also the presence. This is called hudur. Hudur is being in the presence of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and in the secular modern psychology, presence is being in the present moment to know ourselves. But in the Islamic mindfulness, we call it Muraqabah. Presence is certainly uh, not only just to uh, get away with past or future, or you know being in the present moment, but also connecting with Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So there are many seclusions and the silence are practiced in the spiritual tradition, and you can explore those things and connect it to the idea of silence. So far we talked about things in the Islamic mindfulness and how it's a very broader term. So just this is a question. This is part of an activity. So you can just ask yourself, what are some things that may get in the way today when trying to be present with Allah? So this is a spiritual analyzing our spiritual quality. We all have spiritual levels which only we and only Allah Subhanahu wa Taala know. So we have to analyze it. how much we are having the presence, and how much distractions we feel when we go for a prayer, and these things are very important. So this is a question you have to ask me also, to ask ourselves, what are the things which come in as a blockage, or as a uh, distraction to be more present with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So consider our being as a vessel or something. So this is a vessel which is very, in the level of nafs, we can say. It's in the level of psyche. It's not a broader Islamic view of the self, but for the sake of technical understanding, we are going to understand meditation in Islam. So meditation is practiced to as a pragmatic approach to control ourselves, to achieve more mindfulness. So meditation is an applied form of mindfulness, and we can say that as a definition, we can say that it's a conscious state of comprehensive awareness. It's a sustained mindfulness. It's a comprehensive awareness about ourselves. So it includes our thoughts, desires, emotions, our distractions. And there are many ways of mindful meditation. Meditation is a very successful approach, but Muslims, in a many way, are skeptical about it because it contradicts with the creed, and many meditations are practiced from a level of religious connotation. But we, as we know, that knowledge is a very important aspect. We have to pursue it and make it ours. So in that case, mindfulness can be done, and it can be incorporated to our Islamic tradition, and it remain grounded. So Prophet ﷺ said that wisdom is the lost property of the believer. So wherever you find it, then you have a right to it. So in that case, we have to understand meditation. If it's helpful for our achievement of presence and achievement of mindfulness, spiritual endeavor, we have to practice it. A more comprehensive definition of meditation is given by Ibn Qayyim al-Jawzi rahimahullah. So meditation, when we name it in the modern scenario, I have already told that it's a comprehensive awareness. But in Islamic tradition, it has many meanings. Like there are terms like tafakkur, which means reflection, and tadakkur, remembering, nazar, examining, ta'amul, meditating, itibar, contemplating, tadabbur, deliberating, and istibsar, pondering. These are different levels to understand that what meditation is. It is called a reflection, because in that is the utilization of thought and its occupation of acquiring during it. The tafakkur means utilizing our thoughts, and also thinking or utilizing our thoughts in a very positive or a spiritual manner. Also remembering, we know that zikr, it's a fetching of knowledge which must be considered after being distracted or absent from it, to come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and remembering whenever we get distracted to the dunya. It's very important. Meditation, the word ta'ammul means repeatedly examining again and again until it becomes evident and uncovered in one's heart. Contemplation similarly means taking lessons, taking lessons from our thoughts. All of these types, whatever types we mentioned here as part of meditation, it involves form of remembering or awareness of Allah, the purpose of which is to purify the heart of evil feelings and the mind from evil thoughts. We know that human form or human being is like a mirror that is polished or tarnished by our deeds. Imam al-Ghazali says that the heart is in the position of a mirror. So heart is the center of our being, and it's considered as a mirror that is surrounded by influential matters. As for praiseworthy traits that we have mentioned, the things like all this form of meditative practice, it will polish the mirror of the heart and increase its brilliance, the light, the radiance, until the clarity of truth shines from within it. So we know that it's important to cultivate a form of mindfulness or a form of meditation, and it's integral to our faith. And when we make an exercise or a form of exercise which becomes a newly created practice, but scholars are very careful on that, because these are not newly created form of exercise, but is part of our uh, creed. Al-Ghazali recommends for us to engage in 4 distinct daily spiritual practices. So meditation, Islamic meditative practice, is not something distinct from uh, our daily practices. It's the same thing. So remembering Allah and through supplication, dua, remembrance as part of the zikr, recitation of the Quran, qiraat, contemplation, fikr. So these 4 practices are in the writings of Al-Ghazali, rahimahullah. So Imam Al-Ghazali's journey, you might have familiar with alchemy of happiness. He has a journey of knowledge, and he acquired a lot of knowledge, subhanallah. And finally he understood the weakness of our nafs, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself is changing, making changes in ourselves. So he gives I'm reading out a quote which is very, very relevant to know that how our perspective of mindfulness should be in the Islamic framework. If a person's intentions are true, this is the quote by Imam al-Ghazali. So if his intentions are true, his concerns are in order, and his diligence is improved, then he will not gravitate to his base desires and will not be preoccupied with idle thoughts related to the world. The reality of the truth will shine in his heart. So this is how Imam al-Ghazali relates that the reality of our truth will shine inside our heart. So this is an intervention of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he is a changer, the turner of our heart, and this is what we are pursuing. Another important aspect of meditation is the Islamic meditation with thoughts. You can see in the slide different stages of thought. This is given by Al-Suyuti. There are 5 stages of thought, and I briefly give you the explanation of what are the 5 stages of thought. Understanding this is very important to be aware of how these thoughts are making changing inside ourselves, or understanding these thoughts will give a greater grip on ourselves, or awareness, or uh, understanding of ourselves. So as we have said in the earlier slides, there is a extreme spectrum of mindfulness and unmindfulness. Similar way, the stages of these thoughts are like a spectrum. So in the starting, it is al-hajis. Al-hajis means a sudden fleeting thought that comes and goes before one can consider it. We may not even notice it was there at all. So we can see al-hajis as a subconscious thought, or a very which is not so conscious to us. We cannot consider it. It comes and goes, and we cannot consider it in our account. Next level is al-khatir, a thought that we give attention and consideration. At this stage, we have a choice to continue down this train of thought or to ignore it. Al-khatir means it's a conscious or aware part of our thought, and in that stage, we have a choice to continue to indulge in the thought or to ignore it. During the stage, it's not a strong form of thought, but it's a fleeting, very peripheral, influence over us. It's coming from inside, but it's not so strong now. And third stage is hadis al nafs, hadis and nafs. So this stage, it's becoming an inner dialogue or talking of the self. As we pursue the thought and seriously consider acting upon it, here it becomes a very influential form of a thought, and we cannot ignore it. We tend to act upon it. And the last fourth and fifth stage is kind of a determination, a will to put the thought into action. This is al-ham and al-azm. So these are the stages when we realize ourselves in the initial stage, like al-hajis or al-khatir. Initial thoughts can originate when it originate from an involuntary form of the self. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we created man. We know what his soul whispers to him. The soul or our inner being is also whispering to us. Our hawa is whispering to us. That is our enemy from inside. Sometimes it provoke or whisper us towards the evil. Also, there is some external source. We know that apart from these five, stages of thought or thoughts coming from inside, there are good thoughts and bad thoughts. Some bad thoughts, we know that good thoughts and bad thoughts, some are coming from our hawa, our inner self. Some are from our external sources, like whispering of devil or shaitan or an angel. Prophet ﷺ said in a famous hadith, verily shaitan has influence with the son of Adam, and the angel has influence. As for the influence of shaitan, he promises evil and denies the truth. As for the influence of the angel, he promises goodness and affirms the truth. Whoever finds this goodness, let him know that it is from Allah and let him praise Allah. Whoever finds something else, let him seek refuge in Allah from the accuser shaitan. So this is the famous hadith which says that the source of whisper coming from shaitan and also from external source of angel. As a practice, I think we are exceeding time, so I am going quickly. As a practice, describe yourself, your experience being silent. Practice a silence for a few minutes, like 3 minutes, and be present with your inner thoughts and emotions, and notice that how the stages of thoughts, as I have mentioned by Imam al-Suyuti's stages of thought, notice it and how it appears, and take enough time to be aware of that without reacting to that. These are thoughts. It also comes in the form of feeling or emotions, and be aware of that and consider it without reacting to it. There is a mindfulness exercise which is given by the source material by Yakin Institute. I can share it with you. It says that it's not a new innovation practice, but it says that we need to have an anchor for doing a mindfulness exercise. Mindfulness exercise needs an anchor. Means that a phrase that you want to grip yourselves without your mind wandering to many states. So examples are some form of tasbih or zikr, or a fikr, or you can say it's a form of thought. So the examples are given. We know that Prophet ﷺ tend to ask, it was his practice that he asked istighfar, and it's a very good form of an anchor. Whenever we are disturbed by evil thoughts, we have to practice istighfar, astaghfirullah. And also Muraqabah, the awareness of Allah is with us and Allah is watching us. And Asmaul Husna is also considered to be an anchor to not to let ourselves wander our mind or our heart. So choose your anchor, choose your authentic supplication from practice. So I have taken an exercise, but it takes time to practice here. I think we have our allotted time is exceeding, so I just skip that exercise here. But just to give you the idea that Islamic mindfulness meditation uses Islamic mindfulness meditation use the authentic supplications to focus more in being with Allah in the present moment. Also to practice the silence in yourself and silence your inner dialogue. The Hadith and Nafs given by Imam al-Suyuti, it's a very problematic stage from which people tend to move towards, a lot of evil deeds. Also know that Allah is watching you. This is the core idea of Muraqabah, knowing that Allah is al-Raqib, and perceive these three things combine the three ideas are the overall idea of the feeling perception of Muraqabah. So these are the overall idea, the practice, the applicable idea given in this slide. So inshallah, I hope the overall idea, I have made it very simple, and I have used the reference of Yakin Institute because it's a very beautiful depiction. It's a very practical reference. You can make use of it, inshallah. I recommend it highly to all of you. I think we can use the remaining time for question, answer, and discussion, inshallah. So I wind up here as a presentation, and whenever in the coming next time we can inshallah make use of the discussion of question answer, inshallah. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept this discussion as a form of connecting to himself and know ourselves better, and also accept our actions and our worship as valid in his presence. So I invite your questions and discussions.
Ameen. Jazakallah khairan, Brother Nizamuddin, for your wonderful session. Your insights were enlightening, and your ability to engage the audience made the session truly impactful. Thank you for sharing your experience and knowledge. May Allah Almighty bless you. Ameen. Now we will move on to the question and answer session. I now request Sister Mahmouda to read out the questions. Jazakallah khairan.
Jazakumullah khairan kasira, dear sister Nishal, and Jazakumullah khair, speaker Nizamuddin, brother Nizamuddin. It was a very insightful session. Uh, I would ask the participants to put the questions in the chat box so that we can ask. The first question is, may I know what is silence called in Arabic?
Okay. It's called, if I'm not wrong, it's called Al-Samt, S-A-M-T.
Okay. How long does it take to see the benefits of mindfulness?
How long it takes to
See the
know the
benefits.
of mindfulness?
How long does it take?
Is it mindfulness from Islamic perspective? Is it Muraqabah? May I know that
Uh,
in the
yes.
question? Okay.
The question is just how long does it take to see the benefits of mindfulness? And
Okay.
since our session is about Muraqabah, so we
Yes.
can answer in that
Okay.
perspective.
Okay. Okay. So the effects of mindfulness is, as I know, as a practitioner, I am practicing both Muraqabah and also both the modern psychological aspect of mindfulness, that is MBCT. The effect is very immediate because we can taste it. How, what is the result of mindfulness or Muraqabah? Because when we practice it, we feel that what is going on inside of us. So sometimes our true emotions emerge. So I will give you a very realistic example. In my clinical practice, when I do mindfulness exercise, people relate some form of imaginations like a dream. Also, they bring their tears very quickly, after there are forms of meditations like hearing meditation, body meditation, and meditation with unpleasant experience, meditations with pleasant experience. There are a lot of meditations or mindful exercises. The result is very quick. This is what I am talking about, modern mindful practices. But in the case of Muraqabah, also the result is very quick. We all know that when we do a form of supplication or azkar, or when we do a recitation of Quran, we feel that some form of sakina or some form of good feeling emerges, right? This is the same thing as uh, the effect of Muraqabah, because Muraqabah is not a distinct practice or innovative practice in Islam. It's part of our faith itself. I mean, the practices of our faith. For I can say, in a very simple answer, it's the result is very immediate. You know, I hope that it's answer for the question.
Okay. The next question is, are there any risks associated with mindfulness?
Yeah, there are some risks, and in the mindfulness practices, it's advised not to practice it in certain form of diagnostic criteria. So I'm saying this in a clinical uh, application or a clinical context. There are some guidelines not to use it in certain diagnosis, but for the general purpose or a general public, there is no such risk factors, because it's all good to be aware of what ourselves. There is no risk factors apart from clinical diagnosis.
Okay. How long should a session of Muraqabah be?
Yeah, So I haven't found any practical muraqabah exercise apart from Yaqeen Institute's reference, right? So they bring it in a very small duration of time. I mean, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, like that, not more than that. Even MBCT techniques are used in the range of 10 minutes, not more than that. So we have to come back. It's becoming aware and alert, not to go to our unconscious states. In some relaxation techniques, it's not alert, becoming more aware about ourselves, right? So the time duration, you can say it's not too much. It's a short duration of time, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, like that.
Okay, the next question is, how can I incorporate mindfulness into my daily life? That is Muraqabah.
Okay. So I would recommend to focus on ordinary things in life, like eating, like walking, and uh, wearing dress, or sitting somewhere, working, or driving the car. So whenever we do these things, in Islamic tradition, we practice prayers in certain acts. Like, this is something to feel that present moment, and also connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whenever we do some ordinary things like going to bathroom, it's a ordinary thing, but we have to incorporate a supplication there. That's a muraqabah. And also when we eat, we have to start with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim and end with Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillah. And the prayers after eating, after doing many ordinary things. So I would recommend to incorporate supplication. And this is called the muraqabah, being watchful over ourselves. And I missed in the presentation to relate it to our ordinary life, because but I hope this is very known and understood. When we talk about that theoretical part, it's understood that it's incorporated in our ordinary life, in our ordinary, like also in psychology. Modern psychology tells people to incorporate, become more aware about walking, body movements, and this is also form of incorporating mindfulness.
The next question is, can mindfulness help with mental health issues?
Definitely, it helps in mental health issues. I give you experiential answer for this. Whenever people come as a treatment for mental health issues, they need immediate relief. So they seek some immediate exercise or something to do and relieve their stress or anxiety or depressive symptoms. But many talking cure therapies take time to give immediate cure, but MBCT, mindfulness based cognitive therapy, that's what widely used. It has a very good effect on treating mental health issues, very evidence based. We can say that muraqabah is an overarching term which includes this form of mindfulness as well, because it's to connect with our true being and connect it with our thoughts and emotions and behavior. So the answer is definitely there is uh, relief for mental health issues in mindfulness.
The next one is, Assalamu alaikum, sir. How can a person suffering from jinn issues practice mindfulness, as it is extremely difficult for such person? Any suggestions, sir? Jazakallah.
Okay. So first of all, I want to say that I'm not an expert, or I didn't learn much about how the influence of jinn, and I am not an expert to comment on that. But I believe that there are issues of possession, and that's very much a true fact, and we have to explore it. But I cannot connect it with mindfulness, mindfulness or muraqabah, and I cannot. I'm sorry, because I'm not an expert in that area, so I cannot comment on that. How can some people with suffering from jinn issues practice mindfulness? I'm clueless.
Okay.
Hmm.
The next question is, I hear a few sisters going for trauma healing and past life regression therapies. Can you guide me on Islamic perspective?
Yeah. Regarding the trauma healing and past life regression therapy, I think both are very distinct. In case of trauma healing, it's a valid form of therapy, but in the case of past life regression, this is not a scientific, or you can say it has religious underpinning, which contradict Islamic creed. So I think we cannot make an Islamic perspective on past life regression therapy, because it's a problematic in from the point of view of Islamic idea. In the case of trauma healing, there are, so the question includes many other therapies, right? So we have to make a foundation of Islamic fundamental creed and law and all this ontology, epistemology, and then only we can guide people with therapies. So there are modern therapies which we can incorporate to Islamic framework, and there are some therapies we cannot incorporate. So I think this need to be considered.
Another question is it the same as khushu or is it hudur?
Okay. The person is asking whether the hudur and hushu is same, right?
Yeah, I feel so. The question goes like, is muraqabah same as khushu
Okay.
or is it a hudur?
Okay. Uh, we cannot say that Muraqabah and Hudur and Khushu are same, because technically people who knows the difference of the terms. There is a huge difference, but for the general public we can relate to them like these are similar. Like I have asked the same question to a scholar. I have asked that whether Huzur and Muraqabah is same, and is it same to mindfulness. The reply I got from the scholar is that one thing is we cannot make it similar, because the terminology is distinct, and those who know more about it, like deeper sense, I cannot claim that I have a deeper sense of knowledge of the term and its inner depth. Only people of, not only the people of knowledge, but we can say people of spiritual eliteness, the people who has gone with a lot of worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they know that the difference of hudur, the presence, it's a very experiential thing. Also muraqabah is also very distinct. The experts know that how different it is, right? But technically, for the sake of understanding, we can relate to khushu and muraqabah and huzur are very connected, but only people who know see that difference, or the distance between these terms, right? I think like that. Only some experts in the field know that the difference.
Is starting a candle a good way to be mindfulness? Is it Islamic way to do?
I cannot say it is a good way to use candle or some external devices, something like that. Even MBCT or the Islamic practice do not recommend bringing some external applicants like something like that, but more connected with ourselves. So we don't need to have any gadgets or applicants for doing the mindfulness practice. Even MBCT do not recommend it. It recommend for mindful eating. It recommends using some, raisin or something, but other than that, no other, uh, things are used, as I know. Because if you know more, you can correct me.
The last question is, can children practice mindfulness?
I can answer that. Children naturally connected to mindfulness, because mashallah, they are in their fitra. Most of the children are naturally aligned to being in the present moment. They don't have to practice it. They are naturally into that. But adults, due to influence of society, due to many other, you know wrong learnings, they lose their mindfulness. They have to practice mindfulness. Children are very much tuned to mindfulness. When there is a need for any children, like children with anxiety issues, or any other phobia or any other issues, they can practice very easily. In my clinical practice, children are very much into the alliance, therapeutic alliance, and they take the mindfulness approaches wholeheartedly. So it's very workable in children, I think. Mindfulness practices, they like it.
Off to Sister Michelle.
Oh,
Jazakallah khairan, brother Nizamuddin, for answering all of your questions. Alhamdulillah, I hope everyone have benefited from the Q&A session. For more information and ways to participate, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and join our Islamic psychology group. And please feel free to check out our website. Participants who wants to join our group can scan here, inshallah. And big thanks to all of my teammates, Sister Huda, Sister Jahan, Sister Mahmouda, Sister Hamida, Sister Azhar, Shukar Nazir, and Jazakallahu khairan. Your hard work and dedication have truly made a difference. I
And also,
appreciate each and
Jazakallahu khairan, Sister Michelle, to you too.
Barakallahu fikum, sister. Your hard work have truly made a difference. I appreciate each and every one of you for contributing to our success. Jazakallah khairan. Surely Allah loves those who do good. Dear participant, please leave your feedback, and the feedback forms will be sent in the chat box shortly. Jazakallah khairan for your patience. With that, we can wrap up our session with the closing dua. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.